Hi, you're watching Hiring for Executives webinar series part 5 on the topic of the first 100 days of an executive, the webinar on onboarding. Onboarding is the last step of the hiring process. The best practice hiring process starts with defining the role. Without a good role description, it's hard to know who are you looking for. Sourcing means compiling a long list of all the potential candidates who seem to match to the role description. And the screening is about finding out who might even be interested in being a candidate. Interviewing helps you to understand if the candidate has all the necessary requirements and competencies to be successful in this role. And during reference check calls, you try to find out if what the candidate was saying is true. Now you have gathered a lot of information about the candidate and it's time to make the hiring decision. After the hiring decision, there's only one step left. You need to onboard the new hire successfully. Our main speaker today is Tõnis. He has been a headhunter over 30 years and has established several companies in the professional services sector. 5 years ago, he co-founded people analytics company Wisnio, the SaaS platform that helps managers of all levels to make better hiring decisions. Before starting the lecture, let's watch one video of new hire being greeted on their first day. Listen carefully and write down. What do you think of the situation in the video? What are the managers doing right or wrong?
No, I can't reach him. Yes, thanks. They're coming. Please, have a seat.
Hello.
Hello.
I wasn't aware you were coming today.
Okay.
Looks like Jack forgot to mention this. But no worries. We'll sort it out. Come with me. Yeah. Please have a seat, and I'll bring you a coffee.
Yes, please.
Hello. Great to meet you. Yeah, okay. Welcome. Sorry, I have a meeting starting 2 minutes ago. Show him his desk and let our wire to bring him a laptop. Okay, and show him the office safety handbook and show him the office and introduce him to people. Okay? See you. Okay, yeah.
There was a question, is this reality? So what do you think? In our small company of 10 people, we have a couple of colleagues who have had this kind of experience, that you come on first day and your first day is forgotten. They didn't know that you are expected this day. Trino says that he had exactly the same experience. So that's what happens. And the main thing seems to be that the hiring managers think that, well, now the hiring is done when they have agreed with the employee that they start on a particular day. But it's nothing is done. It only starts on this day, so or goes on. And unfortunately, yes. It reminds the situation where you invite someone to visit you and then you forget to be there at the time agreed. So what happens if you appear 2 hours later? Maybe your husband or wife entertained the guest, but guess what? If you forgot to say, if you forgot the agreement yourself, you forgot probably to tell the wife or husband as well that she has to do it. So quite embarrassing.
Yeah. Tanel also said that he had a similar like experience, and I also had this kind of like in the past this kind of experience. It's very unfortunate that this seems to be like the pattern of the onboarding.
Yeah, or actually the missing onboarding, to be more precise. So why is that onboarding is underestimated? Actually, I already said this. It's not considered as an essential part of the hiring process, and then the hiring managers thinks that, well, onboarding is something that then HR takes care of. So it's more or less the same. So essential things, I make the decision, but then the HR takes care about the onboarding process. And it normally happens just that there are like certain formal things you have to do with the new employee to introduce the office safety and all these things, which are probably important, but not the most important things at all. After you have got the yes from the hired person or the selected person, it's not that you can't lose the person after that. You can lose them within a month or 2 months between the employment is starting. For example, I had a case where I placed or found a good candidate for a very successful and nice company. Both were good. The candidate was excellent and the company was excellent, and they had a good fit with each other. And the person was supposed to start as a global head of marketing for this company. And then within a month after they have agreed in terms and about the approximate start time and so on, the employer, the potential employer, couldn't present a work contract, job contract. There were some legal issues involved. The person came from another country, and she was supposed to work in 2 different legislations, and there were issues to be solved. But the main issue was that the hiring manager, the CEO of the company, was flying around the world doing fundraising, and he was most of the time away, and things were just waiting for his confirmation. And when I heard this, that after 1 month they didn't have still signed anything, I called the hiring manager, said that I don't think it's okay. But he said that, well, she's still interested, she understands, she says it's okay. However strongly I suggested that it wasn't okay, nothing happened. And when they finally got the contract ready and presented it to the candidate, the candidate went to his current employer and got a better offer. Then finally, actually, she said me that she realized that when she would start with this company, they wouldn't have time, the CEO wouldn't have time for him. And that's not the situation she is willing to be in. So what we can conclude from here is that as soon as you have made your hiring decision and you have proposed this offer to the candidate, the first thing you have to do is you sign the contract immediately. And immediately means like in a couple of days it should be presented to the candidate. So if it's not ready, why didn't you start working on it like a couple of weeks before and filling in the few details you didn't know that time? And then start the onboarding process immediately. That means basically you have to first, of course, agree about the first day. But then you have to start planning the first day. And this has to be immediately, not on the like few days before, but a few months before, or at least a couple of weeks before the person has to be starting.
Yeah, I have a question about the last slide. You mentioned there that it's not basically HR's role to do the onboarding. Can you explain why? Because I think a lot of people think it is. Like, and whose role is it then?
It's the hiring manager's role, because what we want to achieve with onboarding is that this person works with full capacity after 100 days or 3-4 months. And that means that he or she understands perfectly well what she is expected to achieve and works in this direction with the full capacity, knows everybody in the organization he or she needs to know, and knows everybody's expectations, which might be actually a little bit different from the very beginning, but it should be all clarified during this onboarding period, and she or he would be moving into right direction. HR can only have a supportive role in this, like helping to arrange things, but not agreeing about business results, for example. This is the hiring manager's job. No one else can do this.
Okay, thank you.
And this is the responsibility of the hiring manager. But of course, everybody else should be involved, including HR. So the steps in the onboarding: first you start about the start date, then you plan the first day and first week, and then you plan the 100 days. This is quite an easy thing. Well, I can share my personal experience. I haven't been many times employed, only a couple of years on 2 occasions. But when I started with a quite a prominent placement, I never did any preparation, and I appeared on the first day like, okay, and then started thinking what would be the things I need to achieve fast and so on. What happens in this occasion is that if you are in a prominent position, you are invited to all kinds of meetings immediately, and that takes away the time you might need for thinking. So better think in advance, think about what do you want the first day to look like, first thing, what do you want to wear, and when is the first time actually you want to meet your closest colleagues. It actually might be before the original official day you start working. Very many executives prefer to have an informal lunch the week before or the evening before their official starting meeting is. So all these things are the things what the new employee has to think, and I would think that this is the hiring manager's responsibility to remind him or her about this. There are lots of books or free resources titled New Managers or New Leaders First 100 Days. So let's go forward now. Before the day one, of course, you have to sort out the practical things. If you need to order a laptop, desk, prepare whatever you need. This is the only thing which can be delegated, but of course you have the hiring manager has to say that when the starting date is, and from that the personal assistant or HR person can take over. And then make the detailed plan for day one. So what do you want during this day one to happen is you have to think of introductions to the team. For this you have to plan the time. Then you want to have personal meetings with all the stakeholders, and these personal meetings should be not just social chat, not just introduction, but a serious talk. I would plan 1 hour for all this, and I would also facilitate or ask the new employee to plan for these meetings. The new employee should ask what this person is expecting from him or her, and ask in detail also the business situation description from all of the stakeholders. In small organizations, maybe not so much, but in a big organization, the new employee might get quite confused from the beginning, because it's quite usual that different stakeholders would have different opinions or expectations about what this person has to achieve. And part of the onboarding work the new employee has to do is to sort out what is most important and actually get to an agreement with everyone. So, and finally, you might want to have a social event during this first day, maybe some small drinks reception in the office by the end of the day. And if you want to do this, you also have to inform everybody that this is going to happen. Some companies have some social event on first day, something in the office, and then they want to go out for drinks on first Friday. But whatever you want to do, this has to be planned so that everybody has the understanding of the importance of this event. This is not just drinks, it's onboarding of the new employee.
I have a question about the personal meeting with stakeholders. You mentioned it's about like talking about the expectations. How to make sure that the stakeholders wouldn't place so many expectations on the new hire that weren't like communicated, and now there's a huge list of them, and maybe the new hire kind of feels like he or she needs to agree to all of them. So how you can make sure that this is smooth?
Very good point. Thank you for this. I kind of hinted on this, that there might be different expectations from different stakeholders. So different stakeholders would, it's quite normal. This is nothing to be too unhappy about, that every stakeholder has their own interests and their own field they are responsible for. And when a new person comes, everybody wants his or her problems to be solved in the first order. But then the new employee has to make the plan, and that's the next thing we start talking about, and to make sure that he prioritizes the things in the right way, and then agrees this new priority list with all the stakeholders again. So this is actually the most important things what should happen during the first month of the employment.
Okay, thank you.
So again, first weeks, meet everyone, and everyone, what I mean here is everybody in the company the new employee has to do any work with, but also maybe outside of the company, the clients or partners or whoever. Then read all you need to know. Actually, that means basically understanding the business, the product, all the issues, the situation. So everything what you were not, what wasn't available in advance is available now, and the new employee should take time reading it all and understanding. Then the first 100 days, I have mentioned this already several times, but this is a very good kind of tool to make sure that you get to the same picture with your hiring manager, but with all the other stakeholders as well. And that's not only planning this 100-day, the quick wins you want to achieve in 45 days maybe, and then start planning what you want to achieve in 60 days, and then what do you get to in 90 days. And it's not only planning, but just agreeing it with all the stakeholders is important. Then there is a good idea to make an onboarding workshop with the team. Wisnio platform gives a good opportunity to do this. I will show a slide about it, and we will show the product pretty soon. And finally, during the end of the couple of first weeks, maybe very, very brief feedback survey would be appropriate, like asking a few questions from the new hire and maybe some of his or her colleagues as well. So what I mean about the onboarding workshop, this is a picture of the Wisnio platform where you see the competencies of the team this new employee is going to work, but on the background is the team, and on the front, the blue one is the candidate, the new employee, then in the team. And here we see what kind of new competencies this employee brings to the team. And it's good that first, the hiring manager has this discussion with this new employee, showing all these pictures in the system. If you already have the data, it's a very rich, powerful tool for onboarding, and maybe also having this kind of discussion with the team. saying that, for example, you see that this is the competencies what the new employee brings into this team. So if we need something to do with some of these green ones, what we were not so strong with earlier, we can ask his or her help with it. And then first months, you go on actually working with the 100 days plan. And the important thing is that during this period, let's say the plan is ready by the end of the first month, and then you go on with it for the next 3 months. And the important thing is that the hiring manager should have enough time for guidance, coaching, and feedback with the work of the new employee. Of course, this is not something the hiring manager should forget. On the 5th month, having regular meetings with each employee is good anytime, but it's critically important during the onboarding period. And then finally, if you finish the period, you might want to have another of these workshops, looking again with the team at the data and discuss whatever things you noticed during this 3 or 4 months period. And then finally, we also recommend to have a 360 feedback gathered about the new employee for her or him, and then discussed it again with the new employee only, or with the new employee and the team if necessary. If there are things which might be necessary for the team to consider or know, it might be a good idea to discuss it on the team workshop as well. Yes, you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. I have a question about like complete the 100 days plan. Just because in a lot of cases when you hire someone, you might have a lot of ideas what the person should do, but in reality, it could drift a little bit. Or what happens is that people start to give a little more or different like tasks or responsibilities. So what like a new hire should do if he or she is getting a lot of like new and extra work, and it's hard to like complete the 100 days plan.
Okay, but the 100 days plan is exactly for avoiding this situation. Well, this is something you agree with the most important stakeholders. And then if someone rushes in with something new you haven't considered, then of course if you're a flexible person, you maybe want to take out your plan and say that, well, let's see what we skip then, if you want to handle this very quickly.
Okay, so the new hire should also take this kind of courage to make sure that this was my plan, let's stick to it.
Actually, saying yes to every proposal is the best recipe for fail. If you can't say no, then everything you do unsatisfactorily, because you will have more tasks than possible to fulfill.
Yeah, well, aware of. Okay, Tanel has one question, that this kind of onboarding takes a lot of time. Means the onboarding you explain it, is it really cost effective, or why it is usually skipped then?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Might be one of the reasons why it's skipped. People are so busy. It's not only the new employees' time, but the onboarding takes time of the hiring manager as well. Well, that might be one of the reasons why it's skipped. But if you don't have time for your new employee, then it's another recipe to make him or her fail. So,
and then you lose even more
money. If you think of how much time or resources you lose if you have to replace the employee or find a new one after half year, it's so much more time consuming, or so much more expensive. So, well, actually, all the management takes time, and I think the main issue with all the mistakes managers make is them being too busy with something else. And of course, the crucial thing is to make sure what is the important thing, or what is the thing you need to focus today. But I say that if you don't, if what we think of how much time of the hiring managers time it takes to handle the onboarding, it's like tens of hours, of course, during or maybe 20-30 hours during this first 3 months. But if you don't take this 20 to 30 hours for this new employee, you don't do everything to make them succeed.
Yeah, I agree. I've personally seen employees left within the first 3 months, and the reason was exactly that they felt that people don't have time for them, and they were very confused around how communication works or where they can get help and etc. So they were kind of like just left to be on their own, and those were very talented people, and they left the company.
Well, I have seen people fired because their managers didn't have time for them. I had this case. I described it recently in a blog post that I placed a smart and young manager to a consulting company, and then when I contacted him a month later, said how he is doing, he said, "Well, it's very exciting. I'm learning a lot. It's interesting job." But then I asked, "But how they are happy with you?" He said, "I don't know about this. they haven't said anything." And then I called the hiring manager, his boss, saying that, "Well, I don't think it's okay that your new guy doesn't know, you haven't given any feedback or so. He doesn't know how happy you are with him." And then the manager said me that, "Well, I'm not sure whether he's good for us." And I told him that if you don't talk to him enough, he's definitely going to be no good for you. And that happens. Of course, after a couple of months, they fired him, and I had to find a replacement. That's the rule of headhunter. Even if I didn't feel that it was wrong with the guy, it was wrong with the onboarding. But I could find a new placement for this person, for this young manager, quickly. And he's very happy, and they are happy with him. They have promoted him already. So I'm quite sure that it wasn't the issue with the candidate, but with his boss.
Okay. Let's make an example. Let's talk about like a kind of workshop type of thing that you could do. So we're gonna go through this onboarding, but maybe people haven't seen or don't know what we have been doing during the previous webinars. So Dennis, maybe you wanna explain what's on the screen.
So on the screen is the hiring flow on the Wisnio platform. You can check it if there is a free opportunity to try it. You start with position mapping here, and this first column here helps to map the position and find out what is the key issues you need to this candidates have. Then it's shortlist, where you can see the candidates on the background of your team. And the next step is then interviewing and evaluation feature, where an interview guide is generated and evaluation form appears, so that every stakeholder who is involved in this decision making can insert their evaluations. And then after that, you can compare the candidates. Okay, now the situation here, what you see is the comparison and the scorecard, and you see every person's evaluations. And if you select now one of the candidates, you can decide that you want to onboard this candidate. So if you press yes, onboard now, what happens is that the candidate gets a nice email saying that congratulations, you are now selected as a team member. And at the same time, they also get the link to the team, and they will go and look around there. And what you see here on your screen now is the checklist for the hiring manager, which explains very briefly essential things what the hiring manager has to do. And what we know is that the candidates, if they are moved to the onboarding stage now, the first time they will see their future colleagues, and they are very curious and interested in clicking around and see what kind of people they are. And what we in Wisnio recommend should be done part of the onboarding process is using this curiosity and having a discussion with the new employee and with the new employee and the team as well. So Mirel, go on and share your experience, how it was done when you started recently with us.
Yes, I had a very unique onboarding experience in a way. I never had such discussion. It was very interesting. So let's go through this profile as my CEO went through it with me, and I will explain what we basically discussed. But let's use Christina's profile for that. So first of all, in here we can see how the new hire matches with the values and the team culture, and why this is important is because we like to be and work with people who have the same value set. Otherwise, if people value different things, they make like different type of decisions and etc. So you might have more conflicts because you don't understand why the other person doesn't behave or decide like I do, etc. So in here we can actually see that the new hire is well aligned with most of them, but for example, reputation in here, pleasure, this is a better example. Christina doesn't like pleasure and or doesn't value it this much, but the rest of the team likes to celebrate. So
maybe you click on more on pleasure than there appears.
Yeah, you can see in here. So when it comes to like celebrating wins and then etc., the rest of the team might be very like excited and wants to like go out and celebrate. And Christina might feel a little bit more that she doesn't understand why this is necessary, or she doesn't want to go, and etc. So it's important to make sure that people know that it's not because Christina doesn't like the team or something like that. It's just because she doesn't value the pleasure as much.
Yes, the idea of the value similarity is that that people who are similar in values feel comfortable with each other and they like to be with each other. But the difference of values and personality traits, for example, is that values are ideals. So that means that for this team, celebrating wins and combining business and pleasure is important, but it's less important to this new employee. But for her, it is kind of this knowledge that it's more important to others will help for her to kind of go along with these celebrations if they happen.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go to personality. While values is good if they're aligned, then personality is something where it's actually better if you have more diverse people in the team. Because if everybody behaves the same way, then you might have a lot of situations where no one naturally wants to take the lead. For example, if everyone would be very reserved and you have situations when you need the team to like talk a lot or network and etc., you might not have anyone in the team who wants to do that. So the more different personalities you have, the better it actually is for the team performance.
Okay, maybe it's a good idea to look at this openness where this new employee is most diverse. What we see here is that the team is a bunch of open-minded and creative guys. They want to try new things all the time. And then the new Christina was her name, yes? Yeah. Christina is very pragmatic. So if everybody else here would be happy to try new things, so Christina would be the one who will say that, well, why should we try something new if the old things happen to work very well? And what the theory and practice of high-performing teams says that if the team is very high in creativity or openness, they would very much benefit of some new pragmatic person join the team. But that means also that even if they benefit from this, it's very different behavior, what they are not used to. So they should be explained that, well, this is something that Christina makes our team better by being pragmatic.
makes sense.
Okay,
So
let's go to
basically,
the competencies, maybe.
So basically, we like to work with people who are like us, but it's not always good for the team performance. So actually, for the team performance, we need to a little bit mix up the team.
Yes, we need diversity in personality traits, similarity in values, but diversity in personality and also competencies. And we see Christina brings a lot of new competencies in the team here, what the team didn't have before. It's influencing others, interpersonal understanding, conceptual thinking are much, much stronger with Christina than anyone else has in this team.
Okay, when it comes to competencies, what would be discussed when you're looking at this?
So if you click on one, let's click on, for example, in influencing others or interpersonal understanding.
Yep.
So what we see that Christina is mostly confident here. So she has this unique competence, and then everyone else who is below average here, who are less confident in influencing others, they might possibly have a chance to learn from Christina how to do this.
And how it's best, it's like you should pair them up during some kind of
That's
task.
one of the ways to make use of onboarding is to pair people up. Like if someone on the left hand side here wants to learn how to influence others, she might learn it from Christina. And it's different from values and personality, which don't change. With competencies, you can actually develop these. And if you pair some people with Christina so that they can learn something from Christina, it would be quite a good way to also facilitate peer-to-peer learning and working relationship development in the team.
Okay, so in here, Christina could help them to learn and maybe...
And vice versa, you could take this business acumen where...
Yeah,
exactly. Christina is weaker here, but Jack on the right-hand side is best in this. So Jack would be probably happy to teach Christina about business acumen.
one other thing that I wanted to mention here with the competencies is that during an onboarding, if before hiring the person you had like mapped out what kind of competencies this person wants to have. So for example, in here we have ensuring accountability, customer focus, attention to detail, and etc. So now with the candidate, it's good to like go over them and see where the candidate actually feels, like how confident the candidate feels about those competencies. And if there was something that the candidate says that she has a low confidence in, for example, the business acumen in this case, which was actually marked as, you know, important to have competency, you can ask like why this candidate feels low in this competency, because maybe the reason why he or she feels low is like this is something that they don't need to do. It's maybe some specific about this competency and etc. And you can also discuss with the candidate if some kind of plan around developing this competency needs to put in place, or it's rather, let's see, you know, what happens and let's discuss it again in a couple of months.
Yes, so to cut it shorter, a development plan might be part of the onboarding process. So, and as I said, competencies can be developed, but you can't develop more than one or two competencies in at the same time. So selecting one, what is weaker according to the self-evaluation with the candidate or new employee now, and helping to build a development plan, including peer-to-peer learning, maybe some coaching if you don't have something what is important for this new employee. If you don't have this resource or someone very knowledgeable about this competence in your team, you might want to bring in an external consultant or coach for this.
And one last thing from here is basically the key objectives that I think that people should go over, because those are basically the objectives that we set down that the new hire should be capable of achieving within a year. So during this kind of onboarding talk, it's good to go over and to make sure that you understand those expectations, or you understand and can ask more about the objectives that you need to achieve.
Yes, and I'm afraid I'm repeating myself, but these key objectives are written there by the hiring manager. So make sure the new employee should make sure that also other stakeholders are on the same page or same understanding with these key objectives. And then you can build the 100 days plan based on these.
Thank you, Dennis, for this interesting
Thank you very
lecture.
much.
Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, you can contact us at support@wisnio.com.